Hey everyone, hope you're doing well today. This is the Navigate the Rapids broadcast. Today is January 2nd, 2015. So if you're listening to this in the recent time, I hope you had a good holiday season. And here we are back at it again. It's another Friday, another broadcast. And today I've got a great guest, Mason Duchatschek. We're going to talk about some things that maybe business owners don't necessarily want to hear about. And that's all the bad people that are out there trying to ruin your business and trying to ruin your reputation. But it's something that we really need to know about more than just all the good stuff that I talk a lot about, all the different SEO factors and all the things that you have to do to make your website good. But we don't often talk about the things that can sneak up on you from behind and really screw things up. So my guest today is Mason Duchatschek, as I said. He's a #1 Amazon best-selling author, keynote speaker, and business marketing expert that I believe can help each and every one of you attract, capture, and convert more of your ideal prospects online into clients. He also has amazing ideas and advice on how to repair, build and protect your reputation online. Some of his ideas have been featured on Selling Power Magazine, New York Times, Entrepreneur Magazine, Fox News, and Newsweek. So, Mason, thanks for joining us today.
It's a pleasure to be here. Thanks for having me, Will.
No problem, man. You've got quite a list of things that you've been featured on. That's pretty awesome.
Thank you.
Yeah. So we're going to talk a little bit about what we've called the Internet Boogeyman today, which is a book that you've written. We'll talk more about that. But prior to getting into that, tell me a little bit about your background. I know that you've done some stuff with building tribes and things of that sort. Tell me about that.
Well, Will, I'm an entrepreneur at heart. I own several different businesses and really embraced the online and social media marketing stuff a few years ago when I was listening to, out of frustration, I was listening to a Tony Robbins and Frank Kern interview. And Frank Kern made the comment in the interview, he said, if what you're doing isn't working, then that's good news, because at least you know now that a lot of the old school methods of sales and marketing aren't working like they used to, and aren't going to, and that may not change. If anything, it'll get worse. And he said now's the time to start learning the new ways to do things. So I really had been frustrated that a lot of the old school sales and marketing methods weren't working. I mean, in the old school methods, there was only so many ways to reach a business owner if you're marketing. You could reach them by mail, but Americans sort their mail over the trash can, or now the recycling bin. You could call somebody by telephone, but it's not enough to get past the receptionist. Now you have to be able to get past caller ID twice, because both the receptionist and the decision maker have it, and if they don't know who you are and why you're calling, they're not going to take your call. You can do advertising on radio or TV, but now with TV, people record digitally a lot of their shows, and they fast forward through the commercials, and the radio they change the channels, or it's just never been more difficult. The walls that separate prospects from people trying to sell and market to them, those walls have never been thicker or taller. And I realized that several years ago and said, look, I need to embrace this new technology, social media and online marketing, and find an alternative way. So in the goal of building my own businesses, I really fell in love with all of these new strategies, tools, and technologies, and I've been blessed to have some success with it, and have people who are willing to pay me to help them do the same.
Awesome. So tell me a little bit about Build a Tribe. We'll tackle that one first.
Well, Build a Tribe is the site where people can go to learn about how to build their business online, and the sister site to that is Business Web Videos, where people can actually execute those strategies and tools with some of our help and some of our tools. And that's why I formed. And by the way, anybody that takes the time to visit buildatribe.com right now, I'm offering a free, my best-selling book, Attract, Capture, and Convert, is the whole audiobook, the entire audiobook from the front to the end, I read in the studio, and that's available for free. That anyone enters their name and email in the form on that page, it'll get sent to them automatically.
Oh, awesome. Thank you for that.
My pleasure. So, Build a Tribe is about how to build your business online, and Business Web Videos is really more about the tools to help execute it.
Okay. So what is a tribe? What does that mean?
Tribe, that's your friends, fans, followers, the evangelists for you and what you offer. And they're the ones that will go out of their way to tell other people like them about you. That's your
Yeah.
tribe. Those are the people that like you, that trust you, that support you, and they're thankful for your knowledge, expertise, and ability.
Yeah, yeah, that's good to have for any business. And there's we should say that there's different levels. You know, I've got some followers that follow things that I do, and then I have fans, or I like to call them cheerleaders. You know, people that, like you said, will actually go out of their way to tell someone else about, hey, you got to meet this guy, or you got to hook up with this company or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Those
very
are the
cool.
ones I'm after. I mean, those are the ones that make the effort worthwhile.
That's right. Yeah, yeah.
When your knowledge, skill, ability, determination can help improve their lives and their businesses in ways that are so powerful that they appreciate it and they go out of their way to share what you've done with others. I mean, that's the whole goal. That's my main goal. I mean,
Yeah.
that's the way I do it.
Yeah, and with the internet, it's a lot easier. You know, in the past, you could only build a tribe by the people you met and word of mouth. You know, your fans telling other people. Now you can build content and put things out on the web and attract people that you may never meet, but they're still considered your fans.
Right.
Yeah, very awesome. So, so I was blessed enough to get an email from you asking to help write the book. So tell us the title of the book that you were talking about.
The book, I have a copy right here, is Defeating an Internet Boogeyman. And
Cool.
it's I wrote that obviously with your help and that of Adam Burns, and I think the feedback that I've gotten since we put it out has been very positive. A lot of business owners like, well, I knew I needed this stuff, but I had no idea how to do it, and been very, very positive feedback. And again, that feedback makes all of this worthwhile.
I swooped in and helped with some of the SEO stuff and helped some of that. But I mean, this is pretty much your baby. So tell us, what exactly is an internet boogeyman?
An internet boogeyman is anybody who is a dissatisfied, angry, or hostile past customer or client, or sometimes it's just a jealous competitor posing as a upset past customer whose intention is to try to smear you, your company, your brand, and your reputation online. In the old days, how do I phrase this? In the old days, marketers would go to business owners and say, hey, you need to invest in advertising so that you create top-of-the-mind awareness in the mind of your prospects. So when they recognize a need for what you have to offer, they call you. And advertising salespeople would convince business owners that they needed to come up with creative ads, catchy jingles, and that they needed to repeat them often to build and maintain that top-of-the-mind awareness. Unfortunately,
Right.
there is a new step, and that new step is internet research. I've seen statistics, excuse me, upwards of 90% of people will go online to do research before they make a major purchase. But I'm even thinking minor purchases. People go online, if they think of a company, they're going to look them up on their tablet, their mobile phone, or their computer to find out what's this company's address, what are their hours of operation, do they have what I'm looking for in stock before they get in their car and make a trip. And when they go online, the goal of the internet boogeyman is to have disparaging, hateful material there for a potential customer to see that would drive them elsewhere. That's what the internet boogeyman does. An internet boogeyman places themselves in front of the prospect when they're online checking out a potential vendor. And I can think of one of my favorite stories to tell, and we talked about it in the book, was there's a particular hair restoration company that advertises very, very heavily on radio and television. And if you were in this particular market and this particular city, you would know this doctor's name. And they even say in their ads, go check us out online. Well, when you do, there's basically someone who has had a very bad experience with this doctor posted a site with this doctor's name /nightmare, and then right next to that is a YouTube video that features necrosis of the scalp, which basically is a disgusting. I mean, it'll turn your stomach to look at. This video is so graphic about. I mean, this person basically had their head destroyed, their scalp destroyed. It was when you. I mean, I have yet to see anyone look at that video and not turn away and just it's repugnant. It's gross. It's disgusting.
Yeah.
And I did the math on this, and since that video has been up, it averages about 1,000 views per year. And
Okay.
I did the math on that, and if the doctor's charging $10,000 per procedure, that's about $10 million a year in potential lost revenue. And if even 1/10 of those people who actually heard the ad, went online to check it out, were legitimate prospects and were likely to buy, 10% of them, that's still $1 million a year problem.
Yeah.
And the question I like to ask business owners is, if you had someone who was embezzling $1 million a year from your business, how long would you wait to fix it?
Right.
And the answer is, well, I wouldn't wait at all. I'd take care of it right now. The problem that they all have is they don't know how, and that's why we took the time to write the book, Defeating the Internet Boogeyman.
Yeah, yeah, and I mentioned that it's the holidays, and I've got a son who is in the Air Force, and he came home for a couple days, and they're getting ready to head back. They're in New Mexico, which is quite a drive. We're in St. Louis. It's I think it's around 16-hour drive, something like that. So I said, I'll get you a hotel halfway so you can make it a 2-day trip. It'd be a little bit easier. And the first thing that my wife does, she'll pull up Hotels.com, and instead of going to even the reviews on Hotels.com, they've got another section called guest ratings, which is pretty interesting. It's actual people that they've followed up with later on, and she goes through those reviews. And hotel is kind of an obvious business, along with like a restaurant or something, that people typically look at the reviews prior to deciding if they're going to go there. But more and more businesses, small businesses, are getting reviews online, whether they like it or not. And if you're not watching those, it can be a problem.
Well, I think that's just scratching the surface. In doing research for the book, Defeating the Internet Boogeyman, I mean, I've seen firsthand, auto dealers who have spent big bucks advertising, and you go on the internet, and not only do you see bad reviews, but you see entire websites dedicated to telling the story of how this particular auto dealer or that particular auto dealer took advantage of them, misled them, treated them poorly. And you might think one person had a bad experience, but when you see multiple people saying those things, there may be something to it. But I mean, I see videos that people make to tell their story, or blog posts, or articles, or even websites. I mean, those people seriously feel aggrieved and want to be heard, because clearly the company that caused the problem didn't do what was necessary to fix it.
Right. A couple of years ago, the guy that was taking a flight looked out his window and saw the baggage handlers tossing his guitar onto the thing, and he ended up writing a song, United Breaks Guitars, and it took off, and it was a PR nightmare for them because they didn't handle it correctly, I think, at the other side. So what are some of the things that, let me say this, what are some of the things you shouldn't do when you come across an internet boogeyman?
The worst thing you can, well, I'm not going to say the worst thing. I'm going to say there's 3 things off the top of my head that I'd say. Number 1, don't ignore them. Respond, and respond quickly, and make your case that Mr. Upset Prospect or Miss Upset Prospect, we apologize, we're sorry. Please send us a direct message, or let us know specifically what we can do to accommodate. We'll do everything we can, and then show the rest of the general public, because when an internet boogeyman takes their displeasure to the public, you need to respond in a public fashion and demonstrate that, number 1, that you heard them, 2, that you're sorry, 3, that you're doing everything that you can to make it better. And if you do those things, the public, they realize no one's perfect, but they want to see how you handle it and how you respond, and do you make an effort to rectify the situation. And if you don't, then you probably deserve the heat that the internet boogeyman is sending your way. But if the internet boogeyman continues to be unreasonable no matter what you do, then I think the general public is pretty in tune to the fact that this internet boogeyman may be unreasonable, and there may be nothing that you could do to satisfy them. So at that point, the tide could turn, and you and your company may actually get some sympathy and understanding from the general public, as opposed to vitriol that the internet boogeyman would like to stir up. Second worst thing you can do is argue with the aggrieved party. The last thing you want to do is, if they're on fire, the last thing you want to do is add gasoline. So arguing with an internet boogeyman, particularly in a public fashion, not a good idea. And the third thing that I would encourage business owners to do, or not to do in this case, is to resist the temptation to sue the internet boogeyman. I know of one particular auto repair shop that made that choice, and they did sue their internet boogeyman, who put up hateful reviews and disparaging reviews and websites. I mean, they went all out. Better Business Bureau, they went all out to take this auto dealer, not a dealer, it was a repair center, to task. And the auto dealer took him to court and won. The problem was, as I've said before, there's no erase button on the internet. And the internet boogeyman, even though there's nothing internet boogeyman could do about it. They couldn't take all that stuff down. And what happened to the business owner? The business owner spent a ton of money, a ton of time, and yes, I guess they got a moral victory because the judge found it in their favor, but the net of it was they wasted a bunch of time, they wasted a bunch of money, and they still couldn't get rid of that stuff. And I think that's a mistake a lot of folks make, because they think they can get rid of it. When really, very unlikely to get rid of any of that stuff, but you can try to bury it, neutralize it, and that's really the strategy that we talk a lot about in the book, Defeating the Internet Boogeyman, is how to really neutralize it and neutralize the problem, as opposed to pretending that you can erase it when you can't.
Right, and be proactive about it before one even happens.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, that's I think when it comes to problems related to that of an internet boogeyman, I think the best thing you can do is solve those problems before they occur, and there's a couple ways to do that.
Sure.
And some of those things are offline. Number one is hire really good people. Take the time to find out, are people honest, are they reliable, are they drug-free, are they cooperative team members. I mean, find out, make sure you have good people. Second of all, make sure that you train them well so they know how to satisfy customers' needs. And make sure, three, that you have friendly customer service policies. In the book we wrote about, and this was one of the stories told by Adam Burns when he was the chief operating officer of a regional sporting goods chain. He had several hundred employees in multiple states, and he told me the time when he was a store manager that there was a particular street hockey goal that one customer had a bad experience with. They had these little clips on them that held the net to the frame.
Right.
And this one customer's son played hockey regularly and kept breaking these clips. And the dad kept coming back in and getting new ones, and he was angry. And he finally called the manufacturer and said, "Hey, you guys have a defective product here. I keep having to buy these clips and they said, "Oh, we recognize that, and we have made a re-engineered part, and it should be at your local store." So by now the customer was furious. He goes back into the store. He talks to Adam. Adam's first thing he does is he apologizes. What can I do to make it right? And he said, hey, these are the parts we have. And then when the customer told him that this is a new re-engineered part, Adam went over to the parts bin, and yes, it was true. There was a replacement part out there, but they never changed the SKU, the number for the item. So this was lumped in with a bunch of the old ones because the manufacturer did not communicate with the retailer that they made a new version of this.
Yep.
So when Adam saw what happened, of course, he immediately had all the old ones thrown out, but he apologized to the man, said, "We understand that it's been a waste of your time. I'm sorry it's been frustrating. We had no way of knowing." So he explained it. I mean, he wasn't making excuses. He was just telling the truth. He's like, "We had no way of knowing. This is the first we've heard about this, because if we had heard of this before, these old pieces wouldn't be in here." And basically what he did is he refunded the cost of the entire hockey goal to the customer and let him keep the goal. He's like, "I appreciate the value of your time, and I'm sorry you went through this. We should have known. We didn't, but I want to make it right to you." So if the goal, let's say for the sake of discussion that the goal was a $100 goal retail, his cost was probably $50. So for $50, he prevented an internet boogeyman from coming to life. And actually turned that customer into an evangelist because of the quality service that he provided. So, that was a way he actually turned a hater into an evangelist, or an adversary into an ally, by doing what was the right thing. But, that company, that sporting goods chain, hired the right person by hiring Adam because he's a sharp guy. 2, they had him trained to take care of the customer at the store manager level. And 3, they had policies that gave him the flexibility to do what was necessary and what was right to make the customer happy.
Yeah. Yeah, so that's terrific. That's a great story. And I've heard of other similar stories, especially with the SKU numbers of a new item, a better item being the same as the old one, and the repair people not knowing that. There's all kinds of crazy things that could happen in between, and maybe it's not the consumer's fault, but still the consumer's the one that's going to end up being pretty PO'd about it.
Yes.
Yeah. So I want to circle back real quick to talk about responding to a negative review, because I know there are some good ways to respond, some bad ways to respond. Can you talk a little bit about how you should respond to a negative review, how you should take that on?
Quickly.
Yeah.
Fully. And do what you say you're going to do. Respond quickly. Tell the truth. If you're responsible, accept responsibility, and ask, what can I do to fix this? And do everything in your power to make them happy, or better than that, exceed their expectations and go above and beyond if at all possible.
Yep. I think it's very key that you do that, especially that you reply in a very truthful way. And, if you screwed up, say you screwed up. And that, just saying that kind of stuff is going to turn that negative review into a positive review in somebody's mind who's reading it. They're going, oh, wow, this company's legit. They're cool. They're, they admit their mistakes. They're
human.
Yeah.
I'm dealing with real people here, authentic, genuine human beings who understand what I'm saying, and who people want to do business with people, not some nameless, faceless, corporate, cold culture. And when you can demonstrate authenticity and humility and responsiveness and a sincere desire to help a customer, that's going to come through.
Yeah. Yeah, so let's take it the other opposite, the other end of the spectrum. What happens when there's a negative review and there's no reply, or the business chooses to ignore it?
Then basically they will suffer the consequences and lost business and lost revenue and damaged that are tied to having a damaged reputation.
Yeah,
that's what's going to happen. Like I said, it's not just a matter of a prospect recognizing the need for what you have to offer and then calling you anymore. There's that middle step, which is going online, whether it's on the phone or on the tablet or the computer, and checking you out. And if they say bad stuff, they're gone.
Yeah. And like I said, I'm guilty of it. My wife does, she checks on things too. Everybody does. It's part of the thing. And also, there's also something with, I'm sure you've heard of like Best Buy, where people would go online and research some store, or they'd come into the store, pick out a TV they like, then they'd go home and do some research on it and end up buying it somewhere else. That's a whole nother issue that really hurts too. But if businesses are not aware that that middle step is being taken and they're totally ignoring it, then it's going to hurt. So we talked a little bit in the book about some different ways to, and we don't have to go into them today, but we do talk about in the book different ways to use like Google Alerts and things, so that for the small business owner that maybe doesn't have time to hang out on Twitter all day and see if anybody's talking about them, there are other ways to still kind of keep an ear to the internet to see if people are talking about your business.
And Will, for people who aren't that technical, if you don't mind, I'll expound on that, because I always think whenever I'm talking about things like this, I always think about my dad. It's like, are we talking at a level that my dad would get this? Because by his own admission, he's like, I'm old, I don't want to mess with all this stuff, I don't understand what you do. So if I can explain it to him in a way that he gets it, then usually we're pretty good. But I would encourage people to go to google.com/alerts, and there you'll have the opportunity to enter words or phrases that you want to be notified. Basically, Google will notify you when those words or phrases are used on the internet. So you just got to enter those words or phrases in the box. And then it will ask you how often you want to be notified. Do you want to be notified every day, or as it happens, or every week, or whatever it is? But you can basically choose what words you want to what words you want to be alerted to when they're typed on the internet, and how often, and it's free. So those are some real important things I think for most people to realize. This is not complicated. It's not expensive. Just go to google.com/alerts. Put in the words that you want to have sent. You want to have notifications sent to you when they're put on the internet. And that's not only good for recognizing when an internet boogeyman is trying to cause mischief, but it's also good to know when people are saying good things about your company or liking your products or services. Or a lot of times if you're a retail company or you're a manufacturer and someone's ranting and raving and saying wonderful, nice things about your company, then send them a thank you note or send them an upgraded product or some type of accessory for that product, and just say, hey, we appreciate you sharing the good news, and we just wanted to thank you, and we hope you like this new accessory to help you enjoy your new ABC widget even more. So
yeah, that's a great point. I mean, we talk about replying to the negative reviews, but replying to those positive reviews is just going to take that person that is maybe a follower of your business and turn them into a fan. That's a terrific point. Yeah. So let's talk a little bit about we mentioned a little bit, but some things that what are your favorite things to do to neutralize an internet boogeyman before they get to you?
Very good question. Again, because there is no erase button on the internet, so you can't erase it. But studies I've read recently say that 89% of people who go onto the internet and do a web search, 89% of them don't read past the first page of results.
Right.
So that means that if there's negative content about you or your business or your products, and you can get that pushed down to page 2, then you've solved 90% of your problem. So how do you do that? Well,
right.
A lot of the strategies that I wrote about in the book Attract, Capture, and Convert, that again people can download for free at buildatribe.com. We talked about how to build your internet presence and do it well, and that takes advantage of all of the SEO factors that I know you preach so much about. But really create content that educates, entertains, and inspires. 2 would be to create it in a way that is friendly to search engines so that it gets found by people who are looking for it.
Yep.
What I mean by that is including specific keywords or your names or your product names, title names in the titles of your content, your keywords, your tags, your descriptions, those types of things. And then I think it's also important to distribute that content everywhere in every type of format that you possibly can. The analogy that I would use is that of jug fishing. For those of you who don't know what jug fishing is, don't feel bad. I didn't either until recently. Met a young pastor who grew up in Alabama, and he had ADHD as a young child, and his dad took him fishing for the first time, and they had a terrible experience because they basically would cast their line into the water and let the bobber sit on the surface and wait for a fish to nibble and for the bobber to go under, and he'd reel it in. Well, the reality was it sat there for so long waiting to go under. The kid couldn't sit still that long, drove his dad nuts, and it was just not a good experience. So his dad came back with a better plan the second time and decided to teach him how to jug fish. And again, for those of you who don't know what jug fishing is, it's when you take hundreds of plastic bottles like milk jugs and you put the lid on them so they float and they're like bobbers, and you tie fishing line to those jugs, and because the fish swim at different depths, you use different length lines, and you put a hook and a bait at the bottom of them, and you drop them in the water where you know there are fish and there's no one else fishing. And then when the jug goes underwater, you swoop in with a net and you catch them. Well, when they did this, when the pastor did this, his name's Matt, he was running up and down the river all day, swooping up fish. And here's the analogy. The river is like the internet. The fish are like your ideal prospects. The bait is your content. And that's why it's important to put out fresh content, because you want to attract your ideal prospects rather than repel them, which is what will happen if you had stale bait. So, and the fishing lines and jugs, if you will, are like your media channels. If someone if their only internet presence is their website, that is like just having one fishing line in the water. That's like regular fishing with one fishing line and a bobber waiting for fish to come to you, and when they bite, you reel them in.
Yeah.
Some businesses can survive on that. Fewer and fewer nowadays, but jug fishing is really about, hey, how do I have all kinds. How do I have a tweet or a Facebook post or a video in YouTube? Those are all different lines and different bait, and you want to have people I talk to say, I want to have my content in all kinds of different forms and all kinds of different places. I'm not just interested in catching the fish in my river. I want to catch them. I want to be in every river, every stream, every lake, every ocean where there are lots of my ideal fish and few of my competitors. And how do I do that? And that means when someone creates content designed to educate, entertain, or inspire, it means when they create it in ways that are friendly to search engines and they distribute it in video format, in article format, in blog format, in podcast format, then they're getting their content out to where the fish are instead of waiting for them to come to them. So when you do those things very, very well, it makes it difficult for an internet boogeyman who's just doing a random post here or random video there to really penetrate that force field, if you will, around your knowledge base and your content base.
Yeah, it's funny. I was thinking force field too. You know, the more things that you build around there, it makes it tougher to get in. So, in your opinion, which is the best kind of content to create?
Well, a lot of people, for obvious reasons, people will go with websites, but I happen to believe one of the most effective ways is video, particularly YouTube. Obviously, YouTube is owned by Google, and Google likes its own products. But video marketing, for multiple reasons. Number one, because when a video is done correctly, I really talked about that, I believe, in both books, Internet Boogeyman and Attract, Capture, Convert, about how to create video content so that ranks high in search engines, even higher than a lot of other people's websites. Because, I mean, if you include keywords in your title and your tags and your description and some other things that we mentioned in the book, that most internet boogeymen don't know how to do that. So that would allow you to get your content to rank above theirs and push that down in search engine rankings. So video is very, very powerful, particularly when it's done correctly, and there is a formula to getting videos to rank. We discuss those in the books. And I think also video has amazing credibility. People nowadays spend so much time on YouTube that they almost treat it like people my generation, your generation, and those older than us treat TV. When you see something on TV, oh, that's credible. Well, YouTube's getting to be that way. Oh, I saw that on YouTube. It becomes much more credible. People have a feeling. Adam was up in Wisconsin 2 or 3 weeks ago seeing a company that he had done some work with some video marketing, and he had never met the operations manager. And after a day on site, we were out to dinner and with the other management team, other members of the management team, and this person came in and said, "Hey, good to see you again," to Adam. Well, the interesting thing was she'd never seen him. She'd never met him before. She just felt like she did because she had seen so many videos with him on it. She felt like she knew him, felt like she trusted, seemed like an old friend, even though she'd never officially met him. And then when we pointed that out to her, she just smiled and laughed and said, "Okay, I understand why the video marketing works so well." You know,
that's
and
awesome.
I'm sure that, you know, perhaps you or other members of the audience, you know, there's people they see on TV that they really like, you know, some pop music stars or actors or actresses that they would love to hang out with, athletes, maybe a few politicians they probably not like to hang out with. But the reality was, we don't know those people. We haven't met them, but we just feel like we know them because we've seen them on TV.
Yeah, and we could even take that a step closer to home and say the weatherman on TV. You know, people are eager to go to places where he's going to be doing whatever event or something, simply because they saw him on TV. They don't know the guy, but they're familiar with him and feel like they know who he is.
I actually had this experience several years ago. I was in Springfield, Missouri, right after I think it was the TV show Survivor, season 18, Survivor Tocantins, I think it was. Well, one of the cast members was a guy, his name's Ben Wade, and everyone there called him Coach. Even his parents called him Coach because he was a soccer coach at Southwest Baptist University in Bolivar, which was 30 miles away, which explains why he was there. But anyhow, I was with one of my buddies from high school, and we were sitting out on a sidewalk cafe right after that season of Survivor had wrapped, like a week and a half later maybe. And I'm sitting there with my buddy Mark, and I see Coach walking down the sidewalk with one of his buddies. And I tap my buddy Mark on the side. I'm like, "Hey, that's Coach from Survivor." And he's like, "Son of a gun, it is." And I just immediately reached out and said, "Hey, Coach." And he kind of waved and nodded, and I said, "Hey, we're buying rounds if you'll tell Survivor stories."
Oh, cool.
So he's like, all right. So he sat down with us, and anytime he started getting low, we'd order another beer. But he hung out with us for probably an hour, and we asked him all kinds of questions about the show, about the editing, about the other people that were on the show, about how hungry they really were, and how tired they really were, and sleep deprived they really were, and just asked him all kinds of questions that we wanted to know the answers to.
Yeah.
And very gracious and very cool about it, and we're still Facebook friends to this day. But the interesting thing about it was, as he left, I was like, he was an absolute total stranger. I didn't know him, but I felt like I did, enough to say hello and offer to spend money and have him join us at our table. Why would I do that? It's because I felt like I knew him, and TV and video is what gave me that feeling. And I think that video, which again is why I'm such a big fan of business web videos, but video is such a powerful medium for connecting, for establishing trust and credibility, and telling a story in an interesting way. And the fact that it's really preferred by search engines makes it very, very hard to ignore, whether you're trying to build your business online or trying to protect your reputation from an internet boogeyman who's trying to destroy it.
Yeah. I mean, YouTube's the #2 search engine. A lot of people don't realize that. They think it's Yahoo or Bing or something. But it's #2 by far, with the amount of traffic, with the amount of searches, and the demographic for people searching on YouTube used to be teenagers. It used to be the younger crowd, but it's really gaining a lot of momentum. And obviously the fact that Google integrates that into their regular results too. It might be the third result, but it's a video. It's got the little square there. People are more likely to click on that and watch that video.
Sure.
Yeah. Terrific point. So we talked about the early warning system with the Google alerts. What about some things offline that business owners could do to help thwart the efforts of the internet boogeyman?
Well, again, I'll hit on the three biggies: hiring good people, training them well, and having good customer-friendly policies in place. I mean, I think offline, those are the biggest things that someone can do. Because if you do those three things, then you should solve a lot of internet boogeyman problems before they ever occur.
Yeah, that's a terrific point. And if you have a sales team or something like that, maybe make sure that they know how to handle an irate customer. That it's not always always passed on to the boss, or maybe the boss never hears about it because it was handled so well.
Yes.
Yeah, terrific points. Well, man, I really appreciate you coming on the show today. Tell us how we can get a copy of the book.
Defeating the Internet Boogeyman is available in hardback at internetboogeymanbook.com. You can get it in hardback, or Amazon.com as well. You can get it in Kindle format. And the same thing with Attract, Capture, and Convert. Although, like I said, I make a free audiobook of Attract, Capture, and Convert available to anyone who goes to buildatribe.com and registers their name and email, so we obviously know who to send it to.
Yeah, well, I appreciate your time. Is there a special way that people could contact you if they wanted to talk to you more about this or about some of your other services?
Sure. Buildatribe.com, or my contact information is there at buildatribe.com, or at businesswebvideos.com. Either is fine.
Okay, both ways they can find you, huh?
Either way, all coming through the same video studio and office.
Awesome. Well, Mason, I really appreciate you jumping on the broadcast today. I definitely appreciate your time and some of your wisdom with the side of things that we don't often talk about. My pleasure. Anytime. All right. Well, my name is Will Hankey with Red Canoe Media. I really appreciate everybody listening today and watching on the video broadcast. Hope you have a great rest of your day, and thanks again for taking time to watch Navigate the Rapids. Take care.